the latest episode of Gallifrey Pirate Radio, where we sort of are going to conclude Drew's trip at Long Island Poo, with probably his, not to say anybody else is lower on the list, but I would say probably two of the big interviews that you got a chance to do.
Well, I mean, when your interviews are with one of the doctors and an individual who has written not only for the classic series, but for several doctors within the classic series, 74 individual novelizations of the show, and I don't know how many other books in a series.
Did he do some of the New Adventures?
Yes, he did.
Did he do the, was it the 9 Doctors or the 8 Doctors?
He did the 8 Doctors.
Yes.
Yeah. He did the 8 Doctors, which I still can't find a copy of, but
it's an expensive one.
It's an expensive one.
Yes.
Of course it is. Well, of course I will be talking with that introduction with Colin Baker and Mr. Terrance Dicks with this one. Yeah, right? Right?
Yes.
Before we get to those,
yes.
Because I've noticed with these other interviews, it's great to talk about these folks, and then I kind of fill in with other stuff that's going on. I'll just fill in with the other stuff, because I know that we'll talk about L.I. Who again, especially as more announcements are made as regarding to who the guests are going to be, and so on.
You know what we should do, and I mean, it might be better for you to do this since you have a little more connections. Let's see if we can get some of these guys on the show.
Yeah.
Some of the Long Island Who guys. So let's help promote the show.
Andre, if you're listening, we'll definitely make it happen. One of the things that was just an absolute thrill for me was I got a chance to meet, speaking of shows, I got to meet at least 2 podcasting celebrities.
Nice.
While I was there. And so I got to meet Deb Stanish from Verity and Eric Stadnick from Doctor Who, The Writer's Room, the Classic Horror Cast, which I know isn't Doctor Who, but I still really dig that show. Oh, Eric, I'm sorry, I'm blanking on your third one right now. I apologize, and I'll get to that in just a moment. It'll come to me, I promise. My brain is. Anyway, yeah. So I was on a couple of panels with Deb. And the panels, Davey, the panels were great. They were excellent. I mean, you know, when we go to a convention, and they have a Doctor Who panel, most of the conventions we go, it's you and I running those panels.
Yes.
And sometimes it's not, but for the most part it is.
Like I said, it was really nice at Dragon where I wasn't running those panels and I could just be a panelist.
Sure.
You know, and that was a lot of fun.
Yeah. Well, this is an entire Doctor Who convention, so every panel, I mean, even if we weren't running them, we would go to them because that's one of the things that we want to talk about. But to be able to go to some place where every conversation that's happening publicly, for the most part, is about Doctor Who, and all aspects of it, really great aspects of it, was spectacular. And Deb ran the In Defense Of.
Yeah.
I know somewhere someone's got a copy of this. This is something that they did based off of one of their podcasts, where you were given a subject that, let's just say, needs defending.
Yeah.
Something on the show, a choice, decision, a character, and then you have 90 seconds to defend it. 90 seconds does not seem that long. But when you're trying to come up with good things to describe certain aspects of Doctor Who, it can be a bit of a challenge. If you don't think you can finish, you can tap out and let another one of your teammates work on it. And so you start off with points. Every time you tap out, you lose some points.
Yeah.
So the idea is to keep as many points. Now, I was really hoping that someone would throw Fear at me, because I could defend Fear for 90 seconds, maybe even 90 minutes. But I got Dobby Doctor. I got Dodo.
Okay, no.
Yeah.
I can justify Dodo.
It's not just justifying. You have to justify for 90 seconds, which I found to be a bit challenging. What else did I get? I got two or three others that were relatively difficult, but all in all, it was really good.
Well,
so actually,
wait, let's go back. How were you able to defend Dobby Doctor?
Ooh, well, I don't know how much improv you've ever done, but one of the things that happens in improv is when you get on a roll, you just let your mouth just talk. There were flashes of memory where I seem to recall discussing budgetary needs and going, if you have the budget to use special effects, you use a special effects, otherwise you'll lose those things, like you do at any budget.
Yeah.
I also tried to explain to the audience that this show is not entirely for adults and that children like small, weird, creepy, doctory looking things with its lemur-like hands and enormous eyes. Anyway, when I remember what the other two things were, I certainly will throw that out there.
Nice.
But anyway, so to kind of meet Deb on those panels was very cool, and then I just kind of bumped into her and Eric in the hallway, and they're like, hey, come and we're going to get some food, come and get a meal with us. So I got a chance to sit, and I know they don't have to be that nice, but these are people whose voices I hear every single week.
Mm-hmm.
Like every single week I sit down and I listen to them do a show. And it was really nice of them. And Josh Simon from The Memory Cheats and Mostly Harmless Cutaway also is at it, along with a couple of other folks who were all just treating me really well. And so, yes, I want to talk about the highlight of the guest meeting these amazing people, but I met a lot of amazing people, and I think I get the kind of the fervor around going to conventions like Galley, where people, it might be a slight change in who the guests are, but I know that for the most part they're going to meet people who have similar interests, and maybe you're that person in that small town who's the only person who likes Doctor Who. That probably doesn't exist anymore, but at a time that I can see that have been a reality. I certainly don't remember having a conversation about Doctor Who with anybody when I was young, other than the one person who introduced it to me when I was a kid.
Very few people.
Yeah, it was a PBS thing, and it was definitely Star Wars, Transformers, G.I. Joe, Gem and the Holograms, that kind of thing, but not Doctor Who. So to those excellent folks, everyone who I met, and even if I didn't mention your name specifically, thank you guys. So let's talk about the guests. I got a chance to sit down first with Terrance Dicks.
Yes.
Which, it was really kind of awe-inspiring. Like Deborah Watling, in the last time we talked, it was in the suite room.
Yeah.
And they just put Terrance in a chair, and they put a chair next to him and said, okay, here you go. But people were walking around and talking.
Yeah.
And I think it was getting to him. It was just certainly distracting for me. It was really, like, my interview with Terrance, my interview with Colin Baker were within 15 minutes of each other.
Yeah.
It was done.
Yeah.
And Colin Baker's was really rushed. It is about as chaotic an interview as you're going to get. I'll get to that in a second. But with Terrance, it's very cool. You could tell that there are a lot of stories that he's told the same stories a lot. And I know that our topic of conversation moved very close to the kind of the gravity of one of those stories. Yeah. And he started going into a fabulous tale. Yeah. A fabulous tale. I'll let his story speak for itself. But again, when you have a mind who, actors, their job is to follow the script and to portray to the best of their ability. And we give them so much more credit. We give them most of the credit. Yeah. But it's people like Terrance Dicks who created this world. And without him, there's so much. I mean, come on. the story he talks about is War Games. Basically, like, you know, we talk about it being one of the most defining episodes in the entire history of Doctor Who, and he had, what, a week to write it?
Really?
You know, it probably gave him more than that, but, you know, when shot over a, I don't know how many week period, because it's 10 episodes, but, you know, basic outline of it, and then, you know, to basically scramble to get those scripts scene to scene to scene to scene, and then to finish with the way it finishes. I mean, think about that. That's kind of how he's began in Doctor Who. I mean, you know, kind of in the public's eye. Yeah, to be in the presence of that guy.
And I gotta say, I did like on the Monopoly board, he actually signed where unit was.
Yes, yeah.
That was awesome.
I directed no one.
Yeah.
I directed no one, but when he says, "What if I just do it up here?" and I'm like, above everybody else, do it. Sign it there.
Oh yeah, no, you don't.
And it's like, they're, you know, the Monopoly board, of course, you know, it's diamond shaped at this point in time, and all the doctors are at the bottom, and so all the doctors are signing their pictures, and all the companions are signing to the doctors, as they should. Terrance Dicks. One of the things, one of my big regrets from this convention is not getting him to sign my library ID. I really want him to do that, and I don't know.
Why the library ID?
I like the idea of, well, I was also going to get Tom Robbins to sign it when I went and met him, and I like the idea of having, you know, working with kids and books, and then having two authors who meant so much to me as a daily reminder of kind of why I do this.
It's a good thing that you didn't, because you do have to turn that ID in.
No, seriously?
Yes, it's county property.
I would have just said I lost it.
Well, you could have done that and just paid for a new one and then turned in the new one.
Yeah. Oh, okay, well good. No one told me that. So good. That would have been a very expensive ID.
It would have been a very expensive ID.
So yeah, it's a fairly straightforward interview. Once I get past my kind of fumblings and flusters with Terrance Dicks, we move on to the ultimate interview, ultimate meaning last, with Colin Baker, and it's just all over the damn place. Now,
so it's like his jacket.
It's like his jacket. So when I got it, Drew, you got to get in here. You have 5 minutes and not a moment more. You know, that includes setup.
Yeah.
So I come in, and there are people in the room having a conversation with him. So I'm being polite and setting everything up. You know, depending on how much you edit, there's some weird stuff in the very beginning discussing getting drugs for people's knee problems. You may or may not have included that in there. If you have, there you go. We're not trying to advertise anyone's knee incapabilities. Kneecap. But then getting them out of the room, realizing there's no chair, so I just sit down on the floor next to him, as is his wont. We start talking about getting drugs in America, of which I know nothing. Medicinal drugs. About 1 minute into the interview, we get someone coming in basically telling us that the interview's almost over, and both of us going, "What? No, go away, shoot!" Like, that's Katie. Katie, we apologize, but if nothing else, you have been shooed by Colin Baker on video, so there you go. She was only doing her job. Everyone's sense of time was a bit off on that day. I really like Colin Baker. He reminds me, in the best possible way, what I imagine interviewing Chevy Chase is going to be like. Like, you have no idea what's about to be said. You don't know if any of it's going to be usable later on. And it's just out there. But he's a very entertaining individual.
Well, I am glad you had such a great time with Colin.
Yeah. I know that not everyone's experiences are the same. But It's the only time, with the exception of the signature, that I got from him very quickly. It was right as he was leaving. He could get a quick signature and a handshake, and then when I got my picture taken with him, and he's like, "Well, here's a bearded fellow," and it's like, okay. Next. I mean, like, that is, so this interview is, was it. He, again, with Paul McGann and Colin Baker they were in so many panels. They weren't kind of moving along the hallways or in the lobby like a lot of the other guests were. So this was kind of my only exposure to Colin Baker, other than the interviews. I mean, I tried to come in and listen to, but he's definitely a very entertaining guy, and especially in comparison to McGann. What I think earlier you had asked me what he was like. He's very reserved in his speech. McGann is. Baker is not, and so it doesn't. But he's respectful enough where it doesn't feel like he's running away with any conversation. It's just that if McGann's taking his time to come up with what he's saying, Baker happily fills in those spaces. With all sorts of minutia, and then I think at the end he just gives me a couple of high fives, and it's just kind of like, done, convention over with. I said it before. I got a phone call that said you need to get home immediately after following this interview session between Breakfast with Dick Mills and the interviews with these guys. Had the convention ended for me before it actually officially started, I would have been happy. So it was, the whole thing, the whole experience was spectacular. I loved every minute of it. And I hope that you guys are going to have enjoyed these interviews.
And I just want to take a minute to thank Elihu, even though I was not there, for letting Drew do what he was able to do with the interviews, with being on panels. I just want to say thank you. I kind of feel like, GPR is my baby. It got me through grad school and everything, and I've just been ecstatic about having Drew as part of the show. Because I think with me and Drew, we've definitely taken it to a whole nother level in a lot of different ways. But thank you for letting us be a part of your convention, doing these interviews, and now being able to put them out there to the world. Because like you said, we were one of 2 people that actually did video.
Yeah, we were the only 2. And there were, I'd say, as far as group entities who were doing interviews, there was less than 10. 10 groups. So. And I'm sure there were more people wanted to, so they were very, very kind in allowing us a chance to take part in it.
So thank you, and here is the last set of interviews with Drew and Elihu, with Terrance Dicks and Colin Baker.
Wow, I still can't believe it. This is Drew with Cable Free Pirate Radio. We're here at Long Island Who 2014, and I cannot believe I'm saying this, but I am with Mr. Terrance Dicks. Terrance, thank you for being on our program.
Pleasure.
Honor does not begin to describe.
That's very
so. I should have introduced you as a man who likes his coffee hot and his morning newspaper. As this morning.
So alone.
Alone. It was like a force field. People are like, hi. Oh. But sure, you got to have that alone time in the morning. No one's going to argue with that. You enjoying the con so far? Technically it hasn't started, but that's okay.
Well, indeed. I've been here for several days and done very little, but I'm relieved now it's actually started.
So the beginning of it is kind of a vacation for you?
Yeah, sort of, yeah. Well, yeah, except I'm not really a vacation person. It's more hanging about at loose ends time for me, waiting for something to happen. But it has now started.
Okay, well, when Terrance Dicks has free time, what does Terrance Dicks do with that free time? I mean,
watch television.
Watch television. You watch anything good recently? Oh, yeah, read? What are you reading? Anything?
Or anything and everything, thrillers a lot, or classics like Buchan or Dickens or whatever.
Oh, yeah.
I've got my pride and joy is my Kindle, which has got about 500 books in it, so anything you could ever want is there.
Slowly checking them off the list,
yeah,
read that. Are you, do you like to reread books that you've already read?
Yes, absolutely. No, I mean, if your favourite writers, even with a thriller, it doesn't matter that you know who did it.
Yeah.
You're reading it for the character or
of course.
The narration or whatever.
But yeah, okay, I get it. So, boy, there's so much. when you're on the subject of Terrance Dicks, you only have 5 minutes to do it. I'm not even sure what it's.
You haven't even gone on to Doctor Who yet.
Oh, come, Doctor Who's Doctor Who. We're talking about you. No, okay, let's talk about Doctor Who. You have been an active part of Doctor Who for a very long time. Do you feel at all territorial about the show? I think this is one of the things I think.
Well, it's you know, I mean, I took when I was first offered the job, I said for how long, and the guy who was offering it said, well, we give you a 3 months contract and then we'll see. So I thought, well, okay, they'll fire me after 3 months, but I was freelancing. That's 3 months regular money.
Of course.
And as I always say, I said, okay, I'll do it. And as I always say, there went the rest of my life. And here I am, you know, all those years later.
I'm going to assume that this is not a situation that you regret at all, the fact that it has been part of...
No, I had no idea how... I mean, I was talking about people coming here, you know. Once the magic of Doctor Who touches you, you know, it's there, you know, it's there for life, you know. I mean... There's someone, you know, there were people who have played one small part. There's a girl who was in a 6-minute film, you know, and yet now they're Who people.
They are.
Up, yeah.
Terrance, look at this crowd. Everybody here, sorry audiences at home, everyone here is that magic that such, you played a major part in that. There probably is not a single person in this room who, you know, is not here for one reason or another because of something that you've done in many ways.
Nice to think so, yeah.
Well, certainly, yeah. Is there any particular moment in your vast history with the show that you are particularly proud of?
Well, it's not quite the way you look at it. I've always prided myself on being a professional. You know? Yes. So it's a job, and you do it the best you can. I mean, one thing I was talking about recently was a show called The War Game, which is 10-part with Patrick Troughton's last story. And how that came about was when I was still assistant script editor, and Derek Sherwin, the script editor, rushed into my room and said, Terrance, we need a 10-part Doctor Who, you've got to write it, and we need it next week. It wasn't quite like that, but you know, I'm not exaggerating much, it was that kind of situation. So I called in Mac Hulk, who was my friend and mentor in the business, who has been a great little help to me. I mean, in New York, in cop novels which I read, in the police, they talk about a rabbi.
Yes.
You need a rabbi, who's somebody, senior man who looks after you.
Mac Hulk is your rabbi?
Mac Hulk is my rabbi.
There's your next T-shirt, guys. There you go.
Without a doubt, yeah. And Mac and I wrote it at enormous speed. The thing about Mac, immensely meticulously organised. He is the only writer I know who, when he decided to become a writer, learned to touch stuff.
Oh yeah.
Everybody else is a hunt and peck two fingers man, you know, like me. Very fast hunt and peck two fingers man, but you know, I never learned. Mac was a touch typist. And you know, he would sit at the typewriter, I would stride about the room, we'd discuss lines, and he'd go, there it was on the face. And so we did a couple of scripts a week, did a great rush. And you know, we got it out, we got a 10-part show out, you know, which was an achievement in itself. And I developed a sort of line on it at conventions. I say, well, you know, 10 parts is ridiculous for a Doctor Who, which it is. And I say, well, it starts well, you know, you've got the First World War and the Roman Empire comes out in the mist, good moment. You've got the trial of the Doctor and his exile at the end, you know, all good stuff. But in between, it's really just a lot of running up and down corridors and capture for the sake, which there is some truth in. And recently, the Doctor Who, when it came out on DVD, the Doctor Who magazine reviewed it. And they started the review saying, Terrance has been talking absolute rubbish about this show for years. It's all good from beginning to end. I was highly delighted.
Couldn't agree with them more. Absolutely. I'm afraid our time
I'm amazed.
I'm afraid our time is up, Terrance Dicks. Thank you so much for being a part of this. Thank you guys very much.
Bad knees? Yes. Or any try my I'm heading that way.
All right. Well, can we go out that way?
Oh, I've had the injections.
Go out the front door and come around.
I had injections in one.
I'm due for a couple at the end of this month.
Did you have the injections? Did they work?
No.
I had injection in this one. Didn't work.
It doesn't really work. It works.
Do they hurt during the night?
No. Luckily, I don't have that problem.
Mine killed me during the night. It's I wake up because my knees are hurting. I bought a load of drugs today. I went to...
Oh, is that was the Walgreens?
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Drugs.
Because you went wandering into New York and I need some drugs. It's going to need to make me feel better. If it works on the knees, that's great. If it can't go anywhere else...
Better drugs. You can't buy naproxen in England. You can't buy melatonin.
Oh, you can't buy melatonin?
No.
Wow, I didn't know that.
So my doctor said, because I'm jet lag, I'm backwards and forwards. She said, whenever she goes over here, she buys melatonin, takes it. Fine, no problems.
Yeah.
You can't get it in England. I shouldn't tell you that, but buy it. So I bought a ton of it.
Good.
And you don't understand why Colin Baker comes to these conventions. It's not for the fans, it's for the drugs. Come to America, get your drugs, feel better, maybe go back to
That's exactly
overseas.
why I come here, for the drugs.
Well, kids, you heard it first.
And the Red Bull.
It's very important that you understand, too, from a legal standpoint, that can't actually give you wings. There was a lawsuit of it recently. They got $12 or $15 worth of merchandise because they sued because Red Bull promised to give them wings. That has nothing to do with what's going on. I haven't even started yet.
Is this we haven't started the interview yet, so go away. Go away.
I gotta wait for Andre to finish his signings. Okay, anyway.
Go away.
Okay, fine.
Go away.
For those of us joining us, this is Gallifrey Pirate Radio. This is Drew Meyer over at Long Island, and I am with Mr. Colin Baker. Mr. Colin Baker.
Pirate Radio? Why have you got camera? It's radio?
Yeah, it's an interesting thing about the name. I don't know if the name is supposed to be ironic or...
okay.
But it's a YouTube show. We're also recording an audio.
Hi, Pirate Radio. Lovely to see you.
He's got a face for radio. Look at this.
Don't we all, dear? Don't we all?
Well, speaking of radio, your work on Big Finish is going along splendidly. How are you enjoying this kind of new renaissance of
I am
part of...
so good looking on Big Finish.
You are amazing.
Yeah.
Those album covers.
Yeah.
Hardly look touched up at all.
On Big Finish, I've got curly hair.
Yeah?
I'm still wearing the costume. Well, I'm not. They had done the decent thing and changed my costume too.
Yeah.
I've got a blue costume on Big Finish.
Love the blue costume.
Which is audio, of course.
Of course.
And I'm hoping
when it's not.
maybe I'll eventually get the costume I really wanted, which was the one that Eccleston got.
Yeah.
Which is what I asked for way back in 1983 when they said, "What would you like to wear?" I said, "A long black coat," because I thought the Doctor would probably want to disappear unnoticed into the background on occasion. And what do they give me?
Camouflage for a circus.
Correct.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, have you ever decided to just, you know what, I'm going to dress up like this and go to a convention in the costume I wanted? You ever done that one?
No.
No.
Are you insane?
Yes.
Right, I'm envisioning. Do I look like a person who thinks I might dress up? No. I would rather saw my ears off than dress up.
Okay, given that choice, I might be able to get you a saw. It is New York, after all.
Yeah, that's true.
But you wouldn't be able to hear your audios
It's
then.
a sore point, so don't press it.
No, pressing sore points like your knees is probably not a good idea, right?
No.
So, okay.
Don't talk about my knees.
Okay.
They're personal.
They're not even here.
Yeah.
They're not even here, people.
I won't have a leg to stand on.
He's just floating in space.
Cheers.
I'm sure that any moment now they're going to come and tell us that our time is up. But before they do, can I just say...
Is that a metaphysical thing?
A medical... Your time... I'm sorry, Mr. Baker. Your time is
is
up.
up.
If you look out the window, you'll notice you are now, in fact, in the Neither Sphere. Have you been watching the latest series of Doctor Who?
I've watched the first two. I haven't seen the one called The Caretaker or anything after it.
Yes.
I saw the one about the things under the bed.
Yeah. What do you think of that?
Well, it perplexed me. I do think he is excellent. I think he's a wonderful doctor, but was there something under the bed or wasn't there?
What do you think?
Well, because we're looking at them looking out the window, and this figure comes up behind them.
Yeah.
But we've been told there's nothing under the bed.
Yeah.
So who was it? What was it? We need to know. I'm sorry. We need to know. We look to you, oh producer, to tell us what the facts are.
What would you prefer? Would you prefer that it was a creature, or would you prefer that it was just a kid, as Capaldi explained? You want it to be some kind of creepy little thing, or do you want it to just be one of
I don't
young
want
dead
it to be anything. I don't want to be a writer. I want them to write stories I understand. Yeah, if I wanted to watch things I don't understand, I'd go back and watch my favourite programme, Twin Peaks.
Twin Peaks.
Because the whole point of that was you don't know what's going on. And well, you do sort of, but you don't.
You know that they're doing new episodes
I
of Twin
know,
Peaks. Are you excited about that?
I am very excited about Twin Peaks coming back.
Earlier this year, I went.
And I'm excited about Heroes coming back too.
Yeah, I heard about that.
Yeah.
That'd be kind of cool.
Two of my favourite programmes ever.
Yeah, they're both good ones. I enjoyed both of them. All right, he has just told me that I'm now dead to him. And,
last question.
Mr. Colin Baker, thank you so much for being a part of this.
My very
thank you for
great
joining
pleasure.
us here on Gallifrey Pirate Radio.
Thank you.
Thank you. Oh, can I get another one? It just, my life.
Yo,
it is
ho, ho.
complete, and a bottle of
Rum.
Red Bull. All right, thank you guys very much.
Take care.
You need Red Bull? I have it.
No, I'm good. I would be like a hummingbird.